Anna was always the typical type A personality. If she wanted to get from one side of the living room to the other, she got there through in a straight line. She had her sights set on something, and she was going to get there no matter what. Whereas today, she still, if she has her sights set on something, she's going to work really hard to reach her goal. But I think she's also got a little bit of finesse behind it now. She doesn't necessarily, walk over the coffee table to get to the couch anymore. She goes around it.
Anna, as a child, was basically always a very determined little girl. It didn't seem to matter what obstacles were placed in her way. She was going to find a way around them. She wouldn't let anything really stop her from doing whatever she wanted to do. Basically, once her mind was set, she was going to achieve that come hell or high water, and there wasn't anybody who's going to tell her she couldn't do it or couldn't achieve it. So I think she was a very determined child, and she still is that way today. Whether she's in judo, ultra marathon, OCR, she's a very determined girl, and no one's going to tell her she can't do anything.
Anna's my twin sister, and I've decided to make the documentary because I feel like she's an inspiration to not just me or my family, but to anyone aspiring to be successful in sports, in academics, in their community, in anything. I think she's just an absolute inspiration.
Anna's always loved sports, and she excelled in soccer. She started playing soccer before she even started school, and as soon as she could join a soccer team, with as an extracurricular activity, she was there. Her sister Megan joined as well, and I can remember Anna being quite frustrated with Megan because Megan liked to pick flowers and rocks.
Yes, don't forget the rocks.
And sing songs, whereas Anna was flabbergasted that anybody could possibly be on the soccer field and not wanting to play soccer.
And she showed her competitive spirit from the beginning.
She started very young, which led into swimming, which also led to judo again, which also led to judo after Sydney got them hooked on that. And when we moved to the Crow's Nest Pass, there was no swimming and there was no judo, and we found gymnastics. So Anna and Megan both joined gymnastics, Sydney as well. But Anna just put everything into the sport, and she excelled. After 2 years, she was competing and was earning bronze medals.
Yeah, she did really well. Unfortunately, her coach was not as good as she would have liked, and her missing judo really started to come through. So after a couple of years in gymnastics, we started to drive the hour to Fernie twice a week to compete in judo. So she had a choice to either stay in gymnastics or come back to judo, and she made the decision to join us competing in judo again. My favorite sport to watch Anna compete in is judo. It was always so intense watching her out there on the mat. The only time I didn't like it too much was when she was fighting her sister Megan. That made it difficult to watch, determining who I should actually cheer for, and just basically cheer for both of them. But Anna was always able to take what her coach advised her and apply it in such a technical fashion that it was amazing to watch her fight. I really enjoyed watching her compete. I would say Anna's biggest accomplishment is no matter what she does, whether it's athletics or school, she's always keeps the end goal in mind when she's doing it, and she basically figures out what she needs to do to accomplish her end goal, and she knows that up front, so she always works towards that no matter what. Whether it's training for an ultra marathon, training for a judo meet, she knows what she has to do in order to accomplish it, so she always stays the course throughout it. She prepares.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick running as one of her biggest accomplishments. She has set huge expectations on herself. and she's been able to train on her own and as part of a group. She is very strong. I would say she's not fearless, but she's overcome fears. And she, although has faced some moments of real hardship in her running, and racing in general, she definitely always finishes. So she's always surpassed any unfinished goal with a finish of the race.
I think my favorite thing to watch her do is race. Running it's just where she's at. It's her passion. It's really fun to watch her run, because even if she's doing awful, she's cramping, she's exhausted, she always keeps a smile on her face. She's always encouraging to other runners. If she's in the worst of pain, she can look at someone who's in the same spot as her and encourage them. She's just a very encouraging person.
I started running about 2 days after I started walking, so just about 9 months old, and haven't stopped since. In the fall of grade 8, I started running on our school's trail running team. It was just a few times a week, get out and see the trails, and then in probably about January of the same year in grade 8, it just kind of amalgamated into training with the high school's Signature 7 Ultra team. And then I was an alternate, and then another athlete got injured, and since I was training on the team, I got a leg.
When Anna started running, for me, it was just part of another school sport she was taking part in. She asked if she could join the running club. I said sure, and she loved it. With the high school running club, she was not actually in high school yet, so she was just kind of tagging along. But when the club changed from the high school running club to the Sinister 7 training season, she just continued on and was very dedicated, and if they had to do runs on the weekend, she was right there with them. She just really showed a passion for it.
Yeah, when she started running in the cross country, the high school running team, I really didn't know exactly what it was all about, other than they were going out running. But then when it transitioned into the Sinister 7, until actually she raced, I don't really think I fully understood what the race was all about. So I'm not sure what I thought at the time, but it turned out to be quite the accomplishment once I realized exactly what they were doing.
The distances.
When I looked at the website and saw the distance of each leg, and realized that here was my little girl who was going to run their first leg, what about 14 kilometers at night.
By herself.
Yes, and she, because of her age and her stuff, she needed a shadow runner, so that was quite a thing. Basically, she needed another adult runner to run behind her to keep an eye on her, because of the time of night she was running and the fact that there's still grizzly bears and cougars running around. So it was a lot to take, but very proud of her and everything she's done.
Sinister 7 is the highlight of my year for the past 4 years. It is a crazy weekend of running. So it's a 100-miler relay or solo ultra race in the Rocky Mountains of southern Alberta and Crowsnest Pass, and it is crazy. So whether you're a team or a solo, you have 30 hours to complete this extremely challenging race. And there's people that come from all over the world, solos, from the international community as well as teams. The directors of the race really value youth athletics and are really supportive of the high school team as well as other high school teams, and they put out a high school challenge, so they don't want this to be limited to just teams of adults. So they sponsor 2 teams into the race every year, and one goes to the local high school the local high school team, and the other goes to a team based on application. And had a team in the race, I think, since the second year. So this will be the 10th anniversary of the race, and this will be our 10th team. So it's really exciting. So my first year in grade 8, I raced Lake 7, which was at the time about 12, 13 kilometers, and I raced that in the middle of the night. The next year I raced Lake 2, which 16, 17 kilometer distance. The following year I raced Lake 3, which is a 35 kilometer leg, up and around Ski Hill and on Willoughby Ridge. And then this past summer I raced Lake 6, which was 36, 37 kilometers up and around a mountain. And the course is always changing to be more challenging and more scenic and more hardcore, I guess. So this year for the 10th anniversary, they've changed a lot of lakes to incorporate more single track and just see more of the beauty that the backcountry has to offer. The most challenging leg that I've raced in Sinister 7 would definitely be Leg 3. It was the furthest I've ever raced before. At that time, 35 kilometers. Started it right at 11 o'clock, so right as the heat was starting to come on for the day, and it was about 30 degrees when I was racing the most exposed part of the leg. So I, on top of the very technical, lots of up and down, lots of elevation gain and loss, the heat was what really kind of killed me. It's nicknamed Saint Sack, and I died a little bit. You know, I kept going. I had to stop a few times due to extreme leg cramps, but that's how she goes. I guess one of my favorite running adventures would be this past summer training for Sinister. We were on Leg 6, and that's the leg that I was going to be racing, and I'd never seen it before. So we had the former course director take me and another athlete out, and he designed the course. And we were on, he hadn't seen it for a couple years, but it was a really, really foggy day, so none of the mountains were visible, and we were lost, but Andrew put it, we were navigationally displaced. So we weren't lost, but we didn't really know where we were in relation to any big landmarks because they were all hidden by the fog. So Andrew got enough, we kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and he found a rock. So he climbed up this rock and lifted up his phone, and he gets enough bars to download Google Earth to find out where this one mountain was. And he goes, oh, the closest mountain's right there. So we hiked up and ran the ridge down, and then we found the trail again. It was quite the adventure. Oh man. The lack of mountains here has led me to redefine what I call adventure. We spent the summer before we moved out here almost every day, every weekend, trying to summit a new peak. Running ridges and caving, and just always immersed in the backcountry of the Rocky Mountains. So coming here was quite the big shock because there's not very many mountains here, but it's led to new opportunities. So because I wasn't focused, I guess, on running in the mountains, I got into obstacle course racing. So I saw that the World Championships were being held just 3 hours away from us, and I found out that I could try and qualify at this race, and I set out to do that and qualified and then competed, so it's led to new opportunities. I think moving to Peterborough posed a lot more challenges on Anna than any of us expected. The mountains were her home, still are her home. She trained on them, she ran on them, she climbed them. It was how she found adventure. Moving to Peterborough, though, there aren't any mountains here. It's rather flat, actually, and it just changed everyone's perspective on how Anna trained in the past, and
changed her mindset on how she was going to train for the future. I think the way that she was able to find a new challenge was with obstacle course racing.
So Anna found out about this OCR racing from her old boss out of Alberta. She spent a weekend in Toronto at the trade show working for her old boss, and she heard about this OCR racing.
Which is obstacle course racing.
Yes, obstacle course racing. So she ended up researching online to figure out what she had to do to compete in an OCR race, as well as what she had to do to qualify to go to Worlds, which were going to be held in Collingwood later that year. So she found a race called Prison Break in Hamilton, and without us even present, because we were
You were away.
we were away, she actually competed and placed second in women's, which
Gave her an automatic
gave her an automatic.
advancement to the OCR, to Worlds.
She qualified to go to the Worlds, which again she ended up working because her old boss was there. She worked the weekend for her old boss, who was one of the major sponsors of the race, and she competed and placed 7th in her age category, completing the race.
It was pretty cool.
I've competed in 2 obstacle course races. One was the qualifier. It was a prison break race, just a 5 kilometer, and we had to qualify for World Championships. You had to place top 10 in the elite heat for your gender. So I placed second at that race, and then qualified, moved on to World Championships, where it was a much larger scale race, 15 kilometers with 48 of the world's hardest obstacles, and I placed 7th in women 13 to 17 years old.
She learned a lot about herself, how she was going to race in this new sport. She got stuck on this one rig. There was a few monkey bars, but they were all swinging, and there was rings and ropes and such, and she had to get across. It was called the Platinum Rig. And the first time she went through, she was very confident with herself, and she was near the last ring, and she dropped. And all of us, our hearts almost stopped, because we're like, oh no, like she has to get this done. And at the beginning of the race, they're given a wristband so that if they give up on a challenge, they get their wristband cut. She didn't make it through the Platinum Rig the first time, but she was determined, absolutely determined. She tried probably, I don't know, it felt like 30 times. And finally she realized if she wanted to make the time limit, she had to continue on. So she cut her bracelet and just went on. And she finished 7th in her age group for women, I believe. And even though she was stuck on that one obstacle for probably an hour or so, she still finished the race with an incredibly good time and still such a positive attitude. Her hands were calloused, she was exhausted, her arms were dead and legs were dead, but she still finished happy and was happy to finish.
But OCR did require a lot of different kinds of preparation and building up calluses and playing on the monkey bars, trying to get as much just well-rounded strength as I could to get ready for those obstacles. It was very humbling to see, the elite athletes who this is their lives, just being able to experience that and be part of that, and represent Canada. There's, I think, 42 different countries there, so there's such an exciting atmosphere full of people that are really passionate about this sport, and youth competing against some really, really incredible people too. It's cool. So Mr. and Mrs. Peebles are really influential to me. They're the ones who got me addicted to this crazy sport. They were my coaches, and still are, and mentors, and just really inspirational people who have such big hearts and want to see you achieve your goals. Molly Patton, she was just a really big mentor for me. I ran on the team with her a couple of years and we're still really close. And then there's a soloist by the name of Mayo Cernik that I met on Lake 3, and he wasn't having the best time, but he's also a barefoot runner, and we had a little bonding moment, and we've been in contact since, and just always encouraging me, giving me help, whether that be through training or just support. You can draw inspiration and knowledge from almost anybody, because I have still a lot to learn, so these people are very helpful in helping me grow as an athlete.
Not sure how Anna manages it, but she seems to balance everything with regards to her schoolwork and her athletics. She gives it all in her sports and as well as her schoolwork, maintaining a higher than 90% average for as long as I can remember. She's always strived for perfection in her schoolwork, and yet she still seems to find time to have fun with her sisters, play the sports, as well as maintain a part-time job throughout it all. And she just seems to be the most organized kid I've ever known.
She just does it. I think that you just get into that routine, and you learn to balance. And not unlike any other kid out there, she does have her moments where it seems overwhelming, and she has moments of fear over exams like everyone else, and she's not the superhuman kid. She just really puts a lot of effort into everything that she does, and it shows at the end.
I'm far from perfect. I still cramp like everyone else and have lows in races. I mean, I'm very far from perfect. I think I just am really strong-willed and set goals and want to challenge my limits. And if that means going out and doing crazy things, then that's what I do. I guess when I'm past the breaking point, totally mentally and physically exhausted, just kind of reflect back on why I started and really think, did I come this far to only come this far? I think everybody has limitations, but a lot of those limitations are self-imposed. I always say, don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. At a race, my biggest motivation would be the food.
Looking at you. Oh, Paul.
Stop. In the name of love.
Okay, gotta get out of this.
And I don't know what to say.
Okay. Starting from the top?
Yeah.
I could probably only do like 2.
The sport that I'm worst at is probably baseball. I really struggle with, golf. Is golf a sport?